Well, that's the much we can take at this time. But Decision 2023 continues. With me here in the studio, we have our guests who will be looking at developments thoughts far. We have Abiodun Showomi, a public affairs analyst, and Babatunde Kolade Otitoju, a senior broadcast journalist here. Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to have this conversation with us. Let me begin with you, Abiodun. What's your assessment thus far of the process? We have seen accreditation and voting go on simultaneously. We have also seen the president and some notable Nigerians come out to vote.
Yeah, it's a mixed fortune. On one part, in many areas, polling materials, are yet to arrive in some areas, and I can give you examples. In Abeokuta, it's mixed. In some areas like KC, in Itoko, the materials got there in time. In others, it's a bit delayed. When you move down to Lagos, materials were just getting to Alakuko about 30 minutes ago.
Right.
And it's the same situation in Magodo, Shangisha, Axis, where the INEC officials were just arriving. Even people were seated, waiting patiently for them. In some other areas in Lagos, it's going on a bit smoothly. In Surulere, it's going on smoothly in Ikoyi and Lagos Island. So it's a mixed fortune in terms of the materials arriving and the officials arriving at the right time. People had expected they would be there for 8 o'clock, given the fact that there is a time frame within which people can do accreditation and also cast their votes. But so far, there has not been any report of incidents in terms of violence or in terms of disorderly conduct. People waited patiently, waiting.
There have been few here and there reported.
Not major incidents
to
warrant any disruption of the process so far. But people are waiting patiently, and Nigerians seems to be ready to exercise their franchise, no matter the delay.
Right. Jide, let me get your perspective to how the conduct has gone thus far.
Yes, some of the usual problems, delivering of ballot materials to polling centers in good time. This problem has always been with us, and I am not surprised that this year we've had this problem.
Do you think the cash crunch contributed?
I think it has to do with planning. INEC has never really been able to deliver logistics in good enough time across the country. In some places, materials will get to the polling centers very early. In Kano Metropolis, for example, today, some friends called me excitedly to say, look, we are already set for voting. As early as 7:30, they were ready. But in some places, including some communities in Niger State, materials didn't get there on time. Niger is the biggest state in Nigeria by land mass, more than 10,000 square kilometers, with size far bigger than some states. So I mean, Bogu local government, I'm reporting about Bogu, not Niger as a whole. Bogu local government is the biggest local government in our country, at more than 10,000 square kilometers. So the challenge will be there, because these materials are usually moved by road. I've also seen pictures of civil defense men involved in an accident, while taking ballot materials to a location. Some of them died, and you saw the ballot materials thrown across the road.
Yeah.
So this problem has always been there. I would expect, for example, that we use vehicles that have thick armor, for example, to move some of these ballot materials instead of just light-skinned vehicles that can be easily damaged when there's an accident and you lose some of the ballot materials. So this issue of not getting materials to to polling stations in good time has been there for so long. And it's unfortunate that this is one major problem that we've not been able to solve. I think that a time should come when INEC should be able to not rely so much on road transport workers to get ballot materials to all parts of our country. Now that the issue, the cash crunch is there, is impacted on this election in so many ways.
Absolutely.
I won't be surprised if it's also one of the reasons we have this problem, because these guys have to be paid. The INEC chairman said, look, we don't pay them through transfer, we pay them cash, before they move. I don't expect that that will change. These guys will insist on being paid before moving.
In fact, we had a report from one of our correspondents saying that the drivers were saying that they were not moving. We do not know if, to deliver the materials, we do not know if the matter of being paid was actually
paid enough.
Was the reason why they were not able to move. And recall that even before now, the INEC chair had always been talking about going to meet the CBN governor to say that we need cash, we need cash. And at some point, the CBN governor said that it will be provided. But INEC being INEC, they would have planned. And so the cash crunch might be a factor, don't you think?
No, certainly the cash crunch is a major factor in terms of planning. And it has certainly impacted on INEC's planning. Money was provided very late, to INEC in a way that, according to some reports, as late as Thursday, just 2 days ago, and INEC has to get these funds, to the appropriate people. And without getting the money, not until people get paid, they're not going to put their vehicles on the road, to move those materials. And one other problem is INEC centralized the planning in Abuja. That's the distribution point. In my view, that shouldn't have been the case, because we could easily call on the Nigerian Air Force, to use the helicopters, the choppers and the Nigerian Air Force jets, to move materials to the nearest point. For instance, to distribute in Southwest, you can use 3 major points, which is Lagos, Ibadan and Akure. You will be able to effectively, distribute Southwest in good time, given the problem of cash crunch. But moving those materials to those places will not just solve the problem. The drivers to move them to the interlands, to the inner areas, is very crucial. They need to know that they will be engaged. They need to know they will be paid. And INEC getting the funds late has not helped at all.
All right, those are live pictures from Kano State, and our correspondent